And happy Friday, everyone. My name is meteorologist Heather Kay, and it's time for our daily hail forecast. Thanks to all of our sponsors. They're in the link below if you want to go and check them out. So let's get right into our weather headlines. In terms of severe weather today, we really only have one area that we're going to be watching, and that is in parts of Arizona. Hail and wind will be the main threats there, so we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail in just a few moments. And besides that, we do have some showers and storms in the southeast, but those are expected to remain below limits unless Mother Nature wants to do something, because she's Mother Nature, she can do whatever the heck she wants. And then we will check into the tropics, where we do have a few systems that we're keeping an eye on, so we'll talk about that as well. But before we get into the forecast, we do have one event coming up in the next week and a half or so. Derek is going to be leading a storm restoration masterclass here in Oklahoma City on Monday, October 6th. For more information, you can go to this link below. And so here are yesterday's storm reports. Not a whole lot of activity. We had a few wind reports in the northeast and then a few hail reports in the southwest. So let's go forward in time here. I'll step out of the way so you can see the few reports that did happen. Just some showers and a few thunderstorms during the morning, but then during the afternoon hours, you can see a few of those reports starting to pop up here in parts of Pennsylvania, New York. And then as you go forward in time here, a few more sky reports along the East Coast, and then some hail reports here in Arizona and then even far eastern California. So we did have a few severe hail reports occur there in Arizona. And then as we continue through the rest of the evening, that severe threat moved off the coast along the eastern part of the country, and then, a few hailstones here and there continued in the southwest, and then we quieted down as we got into the overnight hours. So here are current conditions across the lower 48. So we have a stalled out front here still in the southeast, bringing in some moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. We could see some showers and storms continue here through the rest of this afternoon and through the evening. Severe weather, though, is not anticipated. High pressure in the middle of the country, keeping us nice and dry. A few showers still in the northeast, and then another system bringing in some moisture into Arizona. So let's zoom into the southeast just to show you here. Some heavier showers and storms across parts of Florida right now. Again, nothing severe right now, and that's anticipated to stay that way through the rest of the day today. And then moving out into Arizona, you can see a few showers and storms starting to develop here across central Arizona. And we'll be keeping an eye on you guys as we go through the rest of this afternoon and evening for any potential severe weather development. So zooming on out, taking a look at our temperatures, staying a bit warm here along the East Coast into the 80s ahead of that front. More 80s into parts of the southern plains. It's 83 here in Oklahoma City, 84 in Dallas, and comfortable elsewhere across much of the U.S. If you want some cooler weather, you can go into the northwestern part of the country, where it's only 58 in Portland and 62 in Boise. So overall, not too bad of a day in terms of temperatures. So here's our significant hail model for Arizona, and when it comes to that large hail, we like to see those brighter colors, and you can see as we go through the afternoon, we do have some yellows showing up, but on our scale, it's really not entirely impressive. So we could see some large hail today, but in terms of that size, we're not expecting anything too crazy. So as we go through the rest of this evening and into the overnight hours, you can see a lot of those yellows start to disappear. So in terms of that max hail size today, I'm thinking $1.25 to $1.5 size hail will be the largest hail that we'll see. Yesterday, that's what we saw in Arizona, and today I think will be the same story. Nothing larger than $1.25 to $1.5 size is anticipated with those storms in Arizona. So here is our future radar. Again, showers and storms will be along the southeastern coast, a few lingering showers in the northeast as well, and then storms will start to develop more in numerous coverage as we go through the rest of this afternoon, evening. And again, none of this activity in the southeast is anticipated to become severe, but we'll keep an eye on this for you nonetheless. And then more storms following up here in the southwest, bringing in a lot of that moisture. So along with severe weather, we are anticipating some flooding as well. And then continuing on into the early morning hours, same deal, rain along the east, and then starting to quiet down a little bit into the southwest. So zooming into our area of concern today for severe weather, you can see this model is anticipating some more numerous storms firing up here as we get into later on this afternoon. So Phoenix and Tucson, you guys will be watching everyone there for the potential for severe weather. And then as we get into later into the evening, we start to quiet down a little bit, but then we could, still see a few storms popping up here and there through the rest of the evening. And then as we go into the overnight hours, we'll quiet down in terms of severe weather for the most part. We could see a few more storms, isolated nature as we get into tomorrow morning. So in terms of hail, like I said, we're keeping it pretty on the low end side of severe size. $1.25 size hail is possible from Tucson up into Phoenix. And in terms of wind, same deal, low end chance to see a few 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts with those stronger storms from Tucson all the way up into Phoenix. And we're not anticipating anything in terms of tornadoes today. It's just, hail and wind risk in this area. So now if my clicker will let me, here we go. Along with severe weather, we do have a flood risk over the next few days. So let's take a look here at some areas that we'll be watching for some heavier rain. Number one is here in the southwest with that monsoon moisture. And then you can see we have another area here in the southeast with that rain anticipating to continue as we go into the afternoon, evening hours. And then as we get into tomorrow, basically some of the same areas here will be seeing that risk for the flooding. So in the southwest, as well as along the eastern coast from the Virginias all the way down to the Florida Panhandle. And then as we get into Sunday, same story here. It's like a broken record in the southwest as well as along the southeastern coast of the U.S. And hey, look at that. Monday as well. A smaller area in the southwest, so that's some good news, especially if we get some higher rain totals here in the southwest. And then along the southeastern coast, more flooding concerns, especially as we get into the later weekends, into next week. We're watching the tropics, and that's going to be the main concern for those flooding concerns there. We'll talk about the tropics in more detail in just a few moments. Well, first, let's go into the Pacific. There's just one storm out there. Of course, since it's in the Pacific, it's heading away from us, so, it's not a big, it's not going to affect us. But here in the Atlantic, we have multiple storms that we are watching. So we have Gabrielle, which is just going away, of course. She's in the Atlantic, not a threat to us anymore. But then we have two systems that we're keeping an eye on here in the Atlantic. So again, here's Gabrielle moving away, and then we have two storms here. So we have Humberto, who is now a hurricane, and then we have a disturbance here bringing some heavy rain to areas such as the Dominican Republic. So again, Humberto is now a Category 1 hurricane. The winds are at 90 miles per hour. This is expected to become a major hurricane as we go into the weekend. And then we have a disturbance here again in parts of the Caribbean, all that fun stuff. The Dominican Republic, you're getting rained on right now. And we'll be keeping an eye on that storm very carefully as we go into this weekend, as we are expected to see that storm become the next named storm. So we do have a high chance for this to become a tropical storm. We have an 80% chance that it will become one in the next 2 days and a 90% chance over the next 7 days. So here are the spaghetti plots. So basically what all the models are thinking, where these two storms are going to be heading. And as we go into this weekend, you can see Humberto is just going to stay out in the Atlantic. And meanwhile, this unnamed storm will be heading on to the north, and we'll be watching very carefully to see where this particular disturbance is going to be going. You can see the models have it going up to the north and into potentially the Carolinas as we get into Monday. And meanwhile, Humberto, as we go into the beginning of next week, is expected to stay in the Atlantic. We could maybe see some rough seas along the East Coast. We'll keep an eye on that as well. But yeah, as we get into Wednesday, you can see it may just be sitting here, that unnamed right now disturbance. And yeah, these are really fun to look at. They're just stringy spaghetti plots. They stick to their name quite well. So here are, this is a model showing where these storms are going to be potentially heading. A lot of rain, of course, with these systems. As we go into tomorrow, Humberto will continue up to the north, and we'll be keeping an eye on this disturbance as we go through the rest of this weekend. If anything, it's going to produce a lot of rain, hence why there are those flood outlooks out in the southeast. And as we go into Tuesday through Thursday, you can see Humberto will move off to the northeast eventually, and rain anticipated to continue in the southeast as we go into the end of next week. So again, we'll be watching this very carefully and let you guys know when that storm becomes named and where it's heading and all that fun stuff. So speaking of names, when it does become named, I got this graphic first. We'll get to that in just a moment. So here is our climatology. We are nearing October. So today's the 26th. And you can see we're on that downward trend now, but hurricane season lasts until December 1st. Just like last year, we saw named storms, in very late in the season. So it's not over yet until it is over. So you can see, here we go for today. We're past the peak by a few weeks, but we're still in a very, active part of that season on average. So here we go. Here are the names here. So that next named storm will be Imelda. So that's the I name. And again, it is affecting the Dominican Republic with a lot of heavy rain. And we are expected to see this potentially become a named storm within the next, day or two. So stay here to Hill Trace, and we will let you know what's going on with that. So now back to the lower 48 with our future jet stream. You can see the main jet stream is way up into Canada, but we do have a few cutoff lows that are bringing some unsettled weather. You can see that one here in the southwest that's going to be producing that heavy rain in Arizona and New Mexico as we go into the next few days. And as we go into our Saturday, it's going to continue to stick around for a few days here in the southwest. And we're going to be warming up as well. We're going to be remaining quiet in terms of severe weather as well, besides, the southwest. There aren't any major storm systems right now that we are, seeing, but things can change. And you can see if I step out of the way here as we get into Sunday, our two disturbances in the Atlantic. And then as we get into Monday, jet streams are not moving a whole lot, staying a bit warm here. As we get into Tuesday, here is that Armada, that I named storm that I already forgot, and then moving up into the southeast, bringing that heavy rain, and then Humberto staying off the coast, trough still in the west. We could see some unsettled weather, but nothing in terms of severe weather here with these little troughs off of the main trough. And then same deal as we get into Wednesday, more rain expected in the southeast with that tropical system, and warming up here with those deeper reds you can see here as we get into our Friday. And yeah, that's basically it. So speaking of those temperatures, those yellows and oranges and reds, indicate that we will see above average temperatures. So today, above average for a lot of us here in the lower 48, especially in the northern plains, down into the central plains, even parts of the east and northeast. And same deal as we get into our Saturday and into basically the end of our weekend and into the beginning of next week. You can see a lot of temperatures will be above average for this time of the year. Cooler though in the southeast, where we're anticipating that tropical system to move into the southeast and bringing those that heavier rain and cooling our temperatures down. You can see Thursday much lower than average, as well as into our Friday. So what are we anticipating in terms of temperatures? Well, again, we're getting into the 80s today, more 70s and 80s as you go further north into the northern plains. And then as we get into our Saturday, same deal, warming up here, nearing 90 here tomorrow in Oklahoma City, down into Dallas. And then as we get into our Sunday, I mean, like a broken record, still the same, warming up into the upper 80s for a lot of us here in the south, and more 80s as you go further north. But then watch the temperatures as we get into the beginning of next week with that potential tropical system. Cooler temperatures here with that rain anticipated for the southeast, even cooler as we get into our Tuesday, staying pretty warm as we go into the central plains, into the northern plains as we go into next week. So here is our temperature outlook. Very above average as we get into the beginning of October, either near or just below average along the East Coast, as well as a little part of Nevada. So overall, we're going to be pretty above average in terms of temperatures as we begin the first week of October. Now, in terms of precipitation, it looks like we're going to be above average here in the central part of the U.S., as well as along the northwestern coast, and then along the southeast. And that's, again, for that potential tropical system that we may see as we get into next week. So that's all I have for you today. I mean, besides that severe weather in Arizona, we're going to be watching the tropics very carefully, and we will let you know if that becomes our next named storm. So if you haven't already, make sure you follow us on X or Twitter, whatever the heck you want to call it, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, as well as our TikTok page. Make sure you hit see first on Facebook so you don't miss any of our live videos. If you have any questions, concerns, anything like that, you want to learn more about us and our products, you can call us at 855-334-4245. You can email us at info@hailtrace.com. Check out our website at www.hailtrace.com, and there is also a QR code above my head that you can scan to get set up with a demo. But that's all I have for you guys for today. I am meteorologist Heather Kay. I hope you all have a great rest of your Friday and a wonderful weekend.